Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Today I am streaming with Rafael Conde, or Rafa as he goes by short, about Mac window management and basically how to manage your window arrangement on your desktop, things like the dock, and how to use shortcuts with it all. So it'll be a free-ranging conversation. Feel free to jump into the comments. And also, if you're watching the replay, you can leave comments and we can reply later. And it'll all be live on YouTube later. So here we go. Hello, Rafa. Welcome to the stream.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to have you.
This is my first live stream, I think, ever of any kind.
That's awesome.
So I'm very nervous and excited, and yeah,
I don't know. It's fine. I feel like we're Mac people, and so we know the subject. It's live can be awkward, but it's definitely a lot of fun. And it's one of the fun things is people can interact in the chat. So definitely people say hi and ask questions as we go, because we can respond and work on this topic together as we're going. So definitely lots of fun.
We're Mac people. We can do it. Totally. We can do anything.
So I'm curious.
We've been through a lot.
Can you tell people just about yourself and what you do for work?
Yes. Hi, I'm Rafa. I'm a Mac. I'm a designer usually. Like, people hire me as a designer, so that's what I've been doing mostly professionally. But then I make some apps on the side. So today I work at Sketch, which is one of my favorite Mac apps ever, and that's like how I started my career. So it's been like career-wise, it's just been so interesting to like go full circle, and now I work for Sketch with Sketch.
Awesome.
You know, it means a lot, and it's also full of Mac people, as you might imagine. And then on the side, I make some apps, like a indie dev, I guess you can say it.
Yeah.
I do one for Mac called Hand Mirror, which is just a little thing to show your camera, preview your camera stuff, like a menu bar app. I made like a soundboard more recently, and just today, like a couple hours ago, I launched my first Vision OS app. It's like a coffee recipe thing.
Oh, I didn't see that one out. Nice.
Yeah, well, it was like a soft launch. Technically, I'm doing it tomorrow. Like, I'll post it tomorrow, but I made it available on the store today. I flipped the switch just earlier. So yeah, it's like that hybrid of, full-time job, but then do side projects, and then be totally burn out all the time, but you do it because you love it, so you keep doing it. And then 2 years ago, we had a kid, so that didn't really change anything. It just means that I'm more busy. But we're Mac people. We can do it. We can do anything, right?
With the powers of automation and by having perfectly arranged windows.
That's how I do it.
Exactly.
It's all automated right now.
The secret to success. Nice. That's awesome. I mean, so I wanted to have you on the stream because I saw you posting on Mastodon about talking to your coworkers at Slack and how everybody has opinions about how to arrange your windows. And so I would just wanted to absorb that information from you and then also kind of redirect it for myself and for other people on how to do it with shortcuts or just other apps. Part of what can be important about shortcuts is learning when it's not worth using and just arrange them with your hands or something like that if it doesn't really matter. But for someone like me, as we'll see, I went really deep with spaces and I set up like 18 spaces, or 16 I think is the maximum per monitor, so you can do multiple monitors.
Oh my god.
But that matches my 16 home screens on iPad, and for all the stuff that I do, it's like madness. And so this is why I'm trying to find a blend of not bothering and then also setting things up when I need it.
I think it's important to set some expectations, because you usually, well, from some of your streams that I've watched, you invite some, say, experts on the topic. This is not the case. I'm not an expert on. Well, I just have really strong opinions.
That's perfect.
But
though.
I think it will. I hope it will create a good contrast to your full nerdiness. Everything
That's
automated.
Exactly what it's like. I need your opinion so I can take it and run with it.
Yeah. I'll just hit the chill pill, Matthew, button every once in a while. Someone on Mastodon called me like the hippie on how my approach to this. So I never really saw myself as a hippie in any aspect of my life, but I guess this is the one. So I can fully embrace that hippie persona. We can talk about it. But
Sure.
it was interesting. You mentioned the first post on Mastodon. I started this conversation was inspired or triggered by some of the discussions that I was having at work, and I mentioned that work at Sketch, and it's a lot of old school Mac developers and just
Hmm.
Mac people in general. Um, so in a lot of things, I find they're like, oh, these are my people. Like we actually think very much alike in a lot of these aspects, and like how to use the Mac.
Totally.
But this one was one of those that like, no,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think the way you use Windows and just use your Mac, there's no like Mac way,
Hmm.
which is interesting
Yeah.
because macOS
Makes
has
sense.
always been like there's a million different ways of window management. Like the OS itself has a bunch of like little features to help you with window management, and so there's like no canonical way. This is the Apple way,
Hmm.
uh, which I find interesting. So,
Because if
and
you
I think
go,
it's
I feel like
also
a lot of Mac users probably like reject some of the features that Apple has added over the years. Like we
yeah.
were talking before about Launchpad and bringing all the like home screen icon style stuff down. But again, they kind of just added that, and is that what they think it should be? As you were saying that, I was like, Mac is so personal that I feel like what happens is you just like what you use and have used for 30 years, you're like, that's the way everyone does it. And then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
wait, I didn't even realize I do use this tweak. And if you don't have it, you're just kind of like out of luck, or you never knew that that could exist.
And I'm sure it's also one of those things, especially if you've used the Mac long enough. I feel like it's easy usually for me to see a relative like new user to the Mac, like a new
Mhm.
Mac user.
You can just
um,
tell by how they use it.
yeah, there's a lot of like not tells, but and it also depends. Like even what do you consider like an old Mac user? For a lot of people, I'm definitely not one. I started using the Mac in 2008 or 9. It was when Leopard was still
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
OS 10 version, which is not the classic Mac era. Like if you
yeah,
talk to people like John Syracuse
totally.
and stuff, I'm a baby. But I think it's been long enough that I've also seen a lot of new people come in way later.
Totally.
And again, they came in where Launchpad existed or something. And
Yeah.
so that will also change. And also, even with in a fresh install, like you're new to the Mac, you never used this computer before. There's the system doesn't really nudge you in any
Hmm.
direction. It's like figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, when I came in, I was using Windows before that, of course. And so in Windows, it's very much everything is like every window is maximized,
Hmm.
and you usually see one window at a time. Of course, because it's maximized. That makes sense. So when I came into Mac, that's like how I started using it. I just maximized every window. This was before the native full screen mode, right?
Hmm.
That came later. Um,
Do you use
but
the
then
like
just
the option plus on the
yeah,
green
on the
dots?
green arrow.
I feel like we
Yeah,
should show
not arrow.
some of this. Let me just
Yeah,
like pull up my desktop of like pressing in here, and
give
if
us
you
a
hold
demo.
the option key, it changes the full screen to just maximize, and you can make it to the largest part and go back and forth, which is
Yeah,
convenient if you want it.
yeah, definitely. Uh, so I was using it that way, and then very quickly, like I got not just into the Mac, I got into just the whole Apple world very quickly, and I felt hard. So I just started consuming a lot of. I would watch all the keynotes, and I would just consume all the marketing materials. And
Hmm.
I remember, like, I still have that file saved here in my computer somewhere. There's a macOS 10 Leopard guided tour video that was on their website when Leopard came out, and it's just like an Apple person using the Mac and like showing you around how to use the Mac.
Mm-hmm.
So I just consume all of that, and I try to just use the Mac how like Steve Jobs intended it, you know. And I think a lot of my little I don't know ticks or how I use it today is still very much inferred and defined by that era. That's why it's not that I reject a lot of the modern features like Stage Manager and all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that it's hard to like
Just change your
change how
habits.
you work.
Yeah,
Yeah, your habits.
totally.
Yeah. What about you? How was it? How's it been your journey?
I mean,
Actually
mine
don't
is
know this.
definitely. I think that's why I wanted to revisit this. Is I kind of was like, I don't think about this at all anymore. Because I think I spent so much time on iPad and trying to get a home screen set up that made sense there. And my situation is always exacerbated by shortcuts and wanting to use that at scale also. So I think that was one of the reasons I wanted to do this, is I was like, oh, I don't really think about this at all, and I have everything on one home screen or on one desktop, and they just all overlap. So
Yeah.
like the second we talked about this, I went in and set up spaces, and then made spaces for each one of my home screens. Here, let me show this too.
So in character.
So it's
I
like,
just saw the screenshot like in the thumbnail for this stream.
oh, I can't even.
and
Okay,
oh
there
my
we go.
God, I have so many questions.
So like, I mean, most people shouldn't do this probably, but this is the exact same way. I can't really pull up my iPad right now. I don't have it plugged in, but I have dedicated home screens for different things. And so I really developed a whole system where I really associate color with what I'm supposed to be doing. So like the
Okay,
red
interesting.
desktop is for videos. It's like YouTube is red. If I see this and it's mostly like if I have Ivory open and I'm on Mastodon, it goes to my blue desktop. And so like I'm mentally like, I'm not in the right place right now. I'm not doing my work. I need a switch. And the reason I did this is because I do context switch all the time. Like I'm live streaming now, but then I could be blogging. And so I go to this is kind of, you can't do yellow because yellow, you might know as a designer, is like the worst for contrast. So this is like almost like a barf green, but like goldy color. I need to find a better one here. But like I've
It
already
could work well
found,
with dark mode, but
yeah,
no.
that's true. I haven't really
tricky.
tested too much.
You know those people who can like certain sounds, like they see, like they
Yeah,
hear purple. You know those people.
yeah. I see
That's like
blue
that's
shortcut.
you. Like,
Yeah,
oh, of course, video is red. You know.
well,
Like,
it's just I mostly did it. I mean, my whole life has been streamlined through shortcuts because I had to have. There's only 15 colors in shortcuts or whatever, and so I had
Very
to
true.
pick. And so now all my video shortcuts are red, and so when I'm on the red home screen, my brain is like. So this is interesting with spatial computing because. And just doing work in real life, you do work in a place like, and so when you go so digital like I have, and you have 10 different types of work, but you do it all in the same place, it's really hard to context switch and know what I should be doing right now. And so like literally having a bright red background that's like, edit your damn video, stop doing something else, is like actually really helpful for me.
You know, those on Vision OS, those environments that are not actually environments are just like
The
color
colors.
shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
I've always wondered, like, who is this for? Like, these suck. But maybe
For me.
it's for you. It's like
Yeah,
right now, I don't
totally.
think you can automate this. Like, but think of like a focus mode
I
where
mean, yeah,
it's
of
video,
course.
and
All
of
of
a
it should be
sudden
in
the
shortcuts.
room shifts red. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
if you
no,
could
seriously.
just pick hex colors and assign, like that's where with shortcuts you really could like you could sell palettes on the App Store that people could download and put in and like have their sketch colors or something like that. So like I totally think that's awesome. I mean that visual thing is a very interesting. I just moved to Oregon, and so it's cold and wet a lot, and so like having like summer vibes or something. I don't really use it, but it is. it's like interesting. That's augmented reality for sure in a whole different
Yeah,
way.
there you go.
But yeah, I mean,
Change
I think
quality.
I totally would love a red visual cue that I'm in my video mode in that focus or something like that in spatial computing. But I still think like in lieu of having a spatial computer all the time, giving like Mac spaces quite literally, like it's in the name, they're doing it also, and it does give you this otherwise like physical environment to interact with, which I found super
Yeah.
valuable. Do you use multiple desktops much, or
Yeah.
yeah? I
So
think
you
you're
mean
saying
spaces, right? Or
projects.
maybe they
Yeah,
call it that.
yeah. I
I
think it's
do.
the feature's called spaces, but then you add a desktop. So I don't know.
That's true. Yeah. No, I use the feature a lot. Although I don't have like a space just like for something like a predefined space. The space comes after the need, right?
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
actually, I just close all the spaces, and then if I'm doing something like, oh, I'm working on this side project. The first thing I do is like open a new space, bring all the apps there. Um,
Nice.
so this space brings all the apps to the yard, that, and so that's kind of how I do it. I still do. You remember? I don't know if you were using it back then, but the first couple iterations of Spaces was like a two-dimensional thing. You could go like
I might not have
down.
used it
It was like a
then.
grid.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I know what you're talking about. That actually is triggering the memory because it was
Yeah.
like you could go in between all four.
Yeah. It could
Huh.
go like space down or space right.
Yeah.
And I think by default it started like 4, but then you could do a 3 by 3. I
Yeah.
think
That's cool.
this didn't last that long, but I like that even more. Maybe because because that doesn't scale very well, of
Yeah.
course. Um, but because I don't use that many spaces, I think at most I will have maybe 4 or 5 spaces
Yeah.
open. And another thing I do is like at least once a week, I'll just restart my Mac. I
Yeah.
always uncheck the option to like reopen Windows or something. I start
Mm-hmm.
from scratch, and I delete all the spaces and I start clean.
Yeah.
Like, and so
Clean
I never
house.
get it to get too crazy. Yeah, clean house.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. Do you want me to like show my
Yeah.
desktop
Totally.
first,
That'd be awesome.
or do you want to go?
I mean, I feel like you should start. I can roll with it afterwards, and I feel like I'll be inspired by your stuff.
Okay. Well, I doubt it, but all right.
I get
So
inspired by
share
like
screen.
anything. I'm like, oh, I can make a shortcut out of that. Don't worry.
Okay. So I'm sharing my screen. It's always terrifying when you do it on a live
Yeah.
stream. I hope nothing goes wrong.
I think that should.
Let me know if you can see it.
There you go. We're good.
So,
All right, let me
okay.
bring us.
So
in also.
I didn't like tidy up on purpose to like show you like the real, the real me.
Sure.
I think my window management like system, if there's any,
hold on.
or not even system.
There we go.
Oh, sorry.
I wasn't showing it. Okay, we're good.
We're good because
Yes.
I can't see you right now because
I switched to a preview mode and I just forgot to publish the new scene. We're good.
So, like my not system, my window management style is like Windows should have the optimal size for it, and also like I know that tiling windows is very popular. I think I put out a actually no, I don't want to see that, but I put out a poll like what kind of like how to use Windows, and you center it, you go full screen, you tile it. I think tiling is the most popular out of that poll. But the reason why I don't really do it much is because I don't want to see that much information. Like it's overwhelming for me.
Just to clarify too, is tiling?
Yeah.
I don't associate the word tiling with. I just looked at the feature and it puts it on the left side of the screen as like a half full screen. Is that what you mean, or just like
so the
2/3 view on the left and 1/3 on the right, full kind of thing?
Yeah, the native tiling feature is very, very limited. And like you said, you hover the thing and you can tile window to the left of the screen, which will then ask you to like pick a window to put on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
so you can only have at maximum 2 windows. That's not really it. It's like if you use like center half, or I'm using Raycast here, but you could like
Yeah.
you
Okay.
just make little apps,
Sure.
file
That's what I
them
just want to
in a
make sure.
grid.
Cool.
Yeah. The reason why I don't do that is because I don't want to see that much stuff at the same at once, because I get overwhelmed. I hide windows a lot. I almost never minimize them because I just remember that like I was kind of made fun of minimizing because that was like back then that was a Windows person thing to do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, you can't do this on macOS,
We're not allowed
I guess.
to. Although the
We're
Genie
not allowed,
minimize
even though
is pretty fun.
I know what is it? Is it option to do full?
I think,
or,
yeah. Okay. I couldn't remember. There is a terminal command where you can add back in the slow Genie, which I'm pretty sure I have shortcuts to turn on and off so that you can do the really like.
Okay. I thought, yeah, like option
I
shift.
think they turned that off.
Oh, there you go.
Oh no, maybe they
Option
did add it
shift.
back. Yeah.
Oh, did you see this? I just noticed this. I'm pretty sure this is a bug. So it minimized all the Safari windows across all spaces. So like this one was on this space.
Well, if you pressed shift, no, because that's probably adding the slow. Maybe that is a bug.
So I had windows all the time, but I just want to leave it like this as this is usually how it looks. I have the main window centered. If I had Slack or something that's also centered, I would just like Command Tab between them.
Do you have them the exact same size, or
no?
Again, overlapping, or just this is sorry?
Yeah,
I have
just
to get into the
overlapping
details because that's
say I don't want to open Slack right now, but say
yeah,
music.
Sure.
Let's imagine music is Slack. It would look something like this. And so
you'd have
just
it underneath
here
and
then
hidden.
Go back to Slack.
Nice. Okay, that's why it's very important details.
There's probably more windows. Yeah.
Nice.
Because like I don't need to see it all the time. When I do see it, like when I'm on Slack, I'm usually like focused, writing whatever I'm doing in Slack, as opposed to like messages here. It's just on the side, and so it's just a quick in and out. Like it's fine. I don't need to put it in the center.
Sure.
By the way, I can see that I have kids. Don't judge me on my music. Just Bluey. It's my top artist. So let's see. So like music, it could be bigger, but like why at some point, like especially if you start to see this, like you're just wasting space.
Yeah.
Like, so I usually try to find a size that it looks correct. Same with Safari. Same like this. I don't even like to see this. I just hide sidebars.
That is a fascinating thing with things because I do get overwhelmed by all the projects that I have, but see, my brain then goes to open one things window with all of it, and then open another one, and then use AppleScript to trigger keyboard shortcuts to close the sidebar on things, so that it's
oh my god,
I have like a today view and my full view.
Amazing. That's incredible. So like here's Xcode, for example. Like maybe I'm using it this way. Like I even hide the what do you call this? Not the sidebar. What is this? The navigation, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean like if I were to use it, I would probably resize it like this. And by the way, so if you resize and you hold, option, you resize from the opposite edge. That's why like I want to keep some windows centered.
That also alone is a massive tip, because you can like do a fancy, like you bring it over, but then you like resize it in the process to like, I don't know. That's like if you want to turn it into a sidebar one, you can kind of like manipulate the keyboard shortcuts to get it without dragging and letting go.
Yeah, this was I discovered this quite late, like years into Mac, and once I did that, like that, for a long time, that's how I would center windows. I would like do the option thing to maximize it, and then I would resize it from the edge, holding option to make sure it was centered. Yeah. So since then, I use Moom for a long time, and one of the options you could trigger is to center a window. Since then, I feel like Raycast has just replaced a lot of apps. For me. Things. And so right now, I just do command. It's one of those things you don't even.
Yeah, if you asked me, I couldn't tell.
I never thought about. So there you go. I do command control backslash just to center window, whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't
Mhm.
know why that's the keyboard shortcut. That's probably the Moom default.
Do they
I
have like
honestly
a
don't know.
visual palette that you can select from also in Raycast? Like if you type in
I know you can
resize or
do like
something.
center. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Center,
Perfect.
center for 3/4. I really like this. It's called almost maximize,
Huh.
which gives you that like
That's
Apple
perfect.
marketing
Yeah.
shot.
Totally.
It looks silly in such a like a big display, but on
Can
my
you
laptop
try
I
it?
use this all the time.
I want to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
just
of course.
because.
It's like
Oh, that's. Oh man.
you
Okay.
can set
I'm
this.
gonna
I think
download
I think
Raycast
it's
because I take screenshots all the time.
there you go. On a laptop looks better. I think you can even let me see. Almost
Well, I just got to make that.
actions. Can I
Okay.
edit this? Configure
Ha-
command. I know. I think it's
Yeah,
like
that's what I was
80.
gonna
Oh, there
say.
you go. It's
90%.
90%.
Perfect. I was
Yeah,
just gonna
90%.
say
And you can
because I'll make
change.
a shortcut. I don't need Raycast. Or I mean, I
Yeah.
can also, but like that's totally like you can get the screen size and then just use the calculate action to do 90% of that and then resize the window.
Yeah.
So like no matter which size window you're on, it'll always because like a major thing is I use a vertical monitor on the left, so that's a whole other like
Oh, that would
even
change
or
things like this
yeah.
center and
Yeah, or like what
I
size
don't
should
know.
I have a video that I want to watch, kind
Mm.
of thing. And then I got down to like when I'm watching on Twitch, they stream in 936p rather than 1080 because it's like a easier codec for some reason. I don't.
Mm.
There's some math in there that I just don't know, but so like it's a slightly smaller window, and then they have the chat off to the side too. So like I have one that resizes it, but like with that 90% sizing and things like that. Blake in the
By
chat
the way,
says, "Oh wait, we just got 2 comments in a row. Wow, in the same state as me now. Very cold. Yes, it is. It snowed yesterday, and I was like, that's not supposed to happen.
wow.
Hey, Randy,
Uh,
nice to have you.
I just remember that I could use this.
Oh,
right?
nice. I have that exact same. I should have that on mine. I was literally gonna recommend it to you, but I didn't. We're already live, so
No, all good. I just forgot. So like as I go, I'm always changing window sizes, which is very much against like the automation thing. But like say I'm working on Xcode, I have one file open in the preview, but then say I don't know, I would open actually like I would open one on the side on the bottom and then remove the preview and then I don't know,
is that all built into
just
Xcode?
opening more and more. It is, yeah. So it
You
opened more
wouldn't
and more. At
add-
some point, this is getting
Get bigger
silly.
though once you do that, or
Yeah, then I would start resizing, right?
Mhm.
Like if I need more, I just adapt to whatever I'm doing.
Makes sense.
And as you can see, there's like other windows around. That happens all the time. I like to leave like a little corner or something always visible, so I can just go navigate to it with the mouse. But like also Command Tab. That's primarily what I do.
So if you were to automate this with like Safari, that like nested window peeking out that's smaller than the whole window, that's something that I've kind of done before, and it's like shift it 200 pixels to the left or something like that. I think I'm saying these out loud. I'm like verbally making shortcuts in my head, and then I'm going to go back after this and make them because
that's you do. That's you all the time in life.
oh, it's totally
Wait a minute.
it's the resize. I mean, it's just resize. Let me actually show a little bit because I want to.
You want to share your screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
I'll stop sharing mine.
pull up shortcuts. There we go. There.
I imagine you're like, I just took a sip of coffee. Wait a minute. Open
I can
shortcuts.
automate. Yeah, log
Action.
I mean, yeah, dude. That's why I have 3,600 of them. I mean, it
must be hell though, right?
Oh wait,
I just
your
assumed
audio
that
just got hotter.
All.
Hold on, let me turn you down a bit. Yeah, I'm not. When I change scenes, for some reason, your audio is changing a little bit, and I'm not. That doesn't make sense, but that's the beauty of live streaming. Can't really figure out why. So okay, wait, am I sharing and it's all live and you can see it? Okay, good. Just
Yeah,
making
I can see it.
So a lot of the shortcuts actions are just here in the I guess I could make this bigger too. Or wait, I gotta have it peeking out. Even this find displays I haven't taken advantage of because they added it later. So that's a whole like when you have multiple windows. Another thing they also added that I'm just saying this out loud for my own sake.
Nice.
Find apps was not originally in shortcuts. And so you had to like look for the window of an app and then like if the app is open versus just like is it even available? So like I'm just putting these there. Why don't I just make this a sample so we can hold on. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. I think it's fine. I think I have a high frame rate codec that it's not used to. Or did I actually? I might be doing this in 60p. I just realized, which might be terrible. Because I was doing game stuff earlier, so hopefully it's not too bad. But it's like I guess the source isn't. Also, we gotta here in the comments. I use spaces all the time and use a Stream Deck to bounce between them. What do you press? Do you use the keyboard shortcut?
I use a mouse, baby. Like the swipes.
Yeah, but I know isn't control if you hold down.
I don't even know. I know there's a. Yeah, I don't
it's
even
control.
know.
Yeah, control arrows. So with the Stream Deck,
Control
you could
arrows?
just have it press control arrow right. Okay, nice. That's awesome. But yeah, I definitely.
I'm a mouse and trackpad person.
Mm-hmm.
So just all the swipes, all the gestures, usually.
Let's do like a simple. Oh yeah, just use the keyboard shortcut. Nice, perfect. I was just curious. I'm always like,
yeah,
I'm big on Stream Deck. I've sold my soul to Elgato now. But for real, I think it's awesome. I've always used it. That's why I did it. All right, so there's like the find windows action, and then you can identify which app to make sure. The thing that I get with these actions is windows change their name. Like this window is called move window. This one is called all shortcuts. So sometimes you struggle to like, you can check which index it is. So like if there's 3 windows open, you can get the frontmost one, which is actually pretty awesome too. Or where it's positioned or things like that. I've never actually done.
We're getting really close to a question that I had for you actually.
Yeah, sure.
That maybe you could help me with. So one thing that I do all the time, and I think anyone who uses spaces a bunch has found this issue. Like say I open Safari windows all the time, right? Like new Safari windows or like new Finder windows. If you have the window open, you just do Command N to create a new window. That's fine. But if you're in a space where, say, let's use Safari for example. I'm on a space where I don't have any Safari window active. So from that space, how can I create a new Safari window? Because if you do Command Tab to Safari, so that then you can do Command N, you're switching spaces, and then you have to like drag the window, mission control, whatever.
I have not tried it yet, so
I've come up with like a system that it's not really scalable, but it works. Which is I use shortcuts, but it's like a fake shortcut because it's actually a shortcut that just runs an AppleScript.
That's not a fake shortcut. Just to
okay, it's like
I hear that a lot, and I totally get it. But almost all of the value of Mac shortcuts can be found through AppleScript right now. Like any AppleScripts from the last 20 years all work with it. So like you can get so far with that and automating bits that you can't otherwise with shortcuts. Mac has so much capability that you otherwise don't on other platforms. So sorry.
But when the shortcut is like run this AppleScript, it feels like a web view, an app that is just a web view. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
it's a sweet
it's
solution.
Not really native.
Yeah. But it's still that's what I'm saying. I think people when they hear that though, they don't try it. And whereas I came from iPad and I had no capability of doing these things. So now I can open Windows and press all the menu bar commands and do like that stuff is actually really, really powerful, but it just like feels like it's stepping backwards for sure. Because it is kind of, but That's why it's like the future
It's
of
almost
automation on
like
the Mac, not the present. um,
it's almost like when you're writing an app, like say you're a programmer, and you have to go down to like C.
yeah,
Like, oh, I have to really
go
get
back
down
in
to the
time.
metal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
to
I mean,
really
that's
do this one
getting
thing.
down to the metal feels like what we're doing with these Windows actions. Is it's like measuring the size of the screen and stuff like that.
Mm.
Um,
And like actually, so as an app developer, as a programmer who has written some app kit for HandMirror and stuff, and also for HiDoc, it's these APIs to just figure out displays, screen sizes, like where windows are. These APIs are very hard to work with, and also very unreliable. So
yeah.
I don't know if these new shortcut actions, if they're just using those same APIs, and if so, I'd be curious to know if you found them to be reliable,
It's possible.
or if not. But
I'm not.
yeah,
I don't know necessarily. I don't usually interact with like the API level, so I'm just going from
right.
the front end. But it definitely is likely that shortcuts is like what you would expect from shortcuts is ahead of where the feature is implemented with it, because like
Mm.
what tends to happen with shortcuts is like there's nobody at Apple thinking about window management through shortcuts on multiple spaces and in combination with Stream Deck. So like that kind of stuff I think is where we get into like niche of a niche, and that's exactly why I want to do this. Is we're like, hey, you guys don't have support for spaces, add it and input it into shortcuts. And so that's a great
Mhm.
like we can do verbal feedback on this show for sure, and I'll go follow up
Apple
later.
is listening, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so.
They,
No, that's what I mean.
yeah,
I have a shortcut that makes a timestamp at this moment in the stream, so I can come back and file feedback later. So
of course, that's brilliant. Okay, love that.
just marked it.
So I mean, I feel like I interrupted you, and then we just also went on
No,
another
I mean
tangent.
that's
I don't know where.
it's
What
a
were we talking about?
exploration. I mean, I was showing some of the desktop stuff of just like
Right.
let me there.
Yeah, let's go back to that.
So like in general, being able to pick like what I even don't know now is like I have 3 windows open and I want all shortcuts to get closed, so or to be centered. So part of what I think is also very helpful with shortcuts is just testing it over and over again. Like
Yes.
make the shortcut and run it and see if it works, and then if it doesn't, change it. Like I almost never just build a perfect shortcut from start and then it works. It does take a bunch
How
of trial and
often?
error.
How often do you do like a print command? Like say you're working on a very complex long shortcut with a bunch of actions.
So this is a good example. I need to translate this from programmers into. I'm not a programmer, and so I've learned through shortcuts. Do you mean just showing me, like saying you succeeded? Like I have a show result action. Like
Right. Like say for example, oh, I'm building a shortcut that takes this URL and creates a note or something. And so halfway through that flow of creating that shortcut, you're not on the step like create a new note from it, but you still want to make sure that so far like I've captured that URL correctly.
yeah.
You just output it to something.
It depends, and this is why I absolutely love talking with people who are programmers, and I'm not, because I don't even know what I'm doing, but I have my own methods. I mean,
Yeah. No, I'd
usually
love to
if I
hear.
there's a lot of opportunities for prompts in inside the actions for ask for input and choosing from menu or lists. So what I'll tend to do is be like, you got to like use the prompt of this as a print to be like, hey, you're at this stage and the URL is this. What do you want to type for the caption kind of thing? Like I do a lot of linked posts for other people's content. And so like I'll have a URL, I'll ingest it into the shortcut, and then I'll have ask for input that says, hey, the URL is this. What do you want to add for the title? So that kind of thing. This is a good example. I don't know how would you do it? Like, what point would you put in a print to
Yeah,
let
I
you know
mean,
what's happening?
yeah, like say, Jesus, it's hard to come up with just like a random example.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if I'm working on an app and I'm trying to get a list of all the available displays, I might have been thinking about this recently,
Yeah.
and I wanna open a window on the active display, right? And if I were to write all this, it's like, well, okay, first I need to get the list of displays,
Uh-huh.
and then from that list, I need to find out which one is the quote active display, where like your cursor is or whatever. And then after that, then open a window on that display. So there's like these three main steps. And as I'm writing this, it's unlikely that I'll write all three steps correctly and
Yeah.
everything works the first time. So I'll start with the first step, which is, all right, give me a list of all the displays. Like the code is not outputting anything yet. So what I
Yeah.
do is like we call it like a print or a console log for JavaScript or something,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, all right, this is not what I don't want a list. Like I don't want to output text, but just print this out so I can see and confirm that it's working
Yeah.
correctly.
Maybe
This is
maybe
gonna
what
get nerdy,
you're
maybe.
describing is just like this window with shortcuts of
Hmm.
it automatically does that after each step.
I forgot I could do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that might
but
be it.
in
That
order
might
to
be enough.
preview the output of, there's a quick look action where you can just see, um this is that window at the end is essentially a quick look, but it's just built in
Right.
to the editor rather than requiring a modal that you have to dismiss.
That's
So
it.
that's,
No, but that's it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I prefer show results as a way. It kind of depends. It does translate it to text, but then they have these,
Mm.
yeah, like sometimes it's trying to display it as an image. Like there's some weirdness with how these work. So like you'll think you get an error, but it's technically fine. It's just trying to. It can't display the image of this in this
Right.
particular quick look window. So that's a good example of a shortcuts quirk. But so I would usually, if I'm building a shortcut to like step through this code and like process it, I would start by just checking which displays. Like I just set this here and run it and be like, all right, what does it give me? Oops, I closed it. I have two that are named. That's confusing. Sometimes also, so this is a good example. When you look at like the variable of a shortcut,
Mm-hmm.
you can understand the options from like the same sort of like filtering things that we can get here.
Right.
You can usually like coerce a result of a shortcut action into another type automatically. Like this is where for me as a non-programmer, like shortcuts handles a lot of those things that you would have to like type out and have it do. Just using the program, it's kind of built in, and there's affordances for those things.
Yeah,
so
no,
even
it's
like,
very clever. Honestly, I think people don't give praise enough to
oh yeah, the content engine.
what Shortcuts is doing of like translating some just programming concepts
Like I feel
into
like
a
you'd probably
visual
have to do
quickly.
something like this, where it's like, if the display is main display, then do something else and like continue from this
Right.
point. But like shortcuts can have in that action, I've already just isolated the main display.
Nice. Yeah.
That isn't, was that even right? First of all, what's that? Built-in display. No, because I'm using a Mac Mini. So like this is where I would usually, to start, if I'm trying to understand this, I would just run this action, or like if you're in the middle of a flow and you can't, sometimes I'll just make a new action or a new shortcut just to test what's actually going on with like one particular thing.
Yeah.
But then let's say we didn't filter this and you wanted to pick, you can have like choose from list.
So if it's anything like the API that it's probably consuming, it's bananas.
Yeah.
Displays as screens. It's like if you ask for, give me a list of screens, and I might get these details wrong and mixed up which proves my point that this is confusing.
Yeah.
Like, give me a list of all the displays, and it gives you a list, like an array of all the available displays. And the first item in that list is I don't know what's the official name, like the main display. It's the display where your dock is.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Which of course can change, right? So if you go in and you like
if you move,
hover
or just even this,
summon the dock,
if I hover, it'll move it. So that's not.
Yeah. So that's confusing. But then I think also the quote the main display or whatever. See, I'm already confused. But there's something like the main display that you can ask for, like displays.main display, and that is the display I think that has the current active window. So that's like another separate concept.
Oh my god! So this shortcut could run differently if I am on a separate.
It could be. It depends on what you ask for. So that's what I'm trying to say. This stuff is very confusing and very just not unreliable. I guess some people can understand, but thank you. So
we'll
it's just
I'll send you the
very
$1
confusing.
afterwards.
It's like
I've never gotten a super chat, so that is awesome. Thank you. That actually is very cool.
It's okay. So where was I? Yeah, whatever. This stuff is hard. Yeah. So like, don't get me started on coordinates. If you're trying like to draw a window or open a window,
well, that's
coordinate system depends.
No, see, we're started on it. That's the problem, because that's what you have to. That is what you have to deal with in shortcuts. And I know exact. So now add in a vertical display that's the secondary monitor. It's at negative coordinates.
Yes.
And like
this
negative.
Crazy.
Why? So this is exactly how I wanted to do the stream, because I was like, I don't know what to do. I just realized I'm showing all my notifications.
I can't help you, Matthew. This is it. Like, there's
that's fine.
Just
I mean,
do this. You can't
understanding that you shouldn't is like an important, like being like stop because you're gonna lose your mind is like helpful, rather than just spinning my wheels on it. But like,
I mean, know that like. So real quick, like this is where my pain, like Hand Mirror is again started as a menu bar app. You click and it shows you a camera.
Yeah,
everything was fine because you click and you show the camera view. It's anchored to the menu. It's fine. And then at some point, like the big feature was like, I want people to have more control over that window where you show the camera.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of being a little popover, I want to draw the window whatever you want. If you want to resize it, it's also fine. And then that's where my gray hair, like the root of all my gray hair so far, it's because I had to deal with management, like window management, screen sizes, different multiple monitors. Like I built this feature where if you have a MacBook with a notch, you can click under the notch to show the camera right there. That's fun. There's no API to tell you like, does this screen have a notch?
Yeah,
that doesn't exist. So I'm like, okay, there's like the safe areas, which is like the menu bar, because like technically, like there's a coordinate system there, like there's a pixel, but
is it like 20?
You can't draw under it. Honestly, I forget, but yeah, if it has a menu bar, it's slightly taller. So that's how I have to figure out like, all right, is this menu bar like restricted safe area? Is it bigger than this? If so, I can infer that there's a menu. There's a. Do
you know what pixels it is? Because that's exactly.
I think it's
the same shortcut thing that you'd run into.
I can look it up. Yeah,
I mean, if you want.
And then it's like, all right, if it has that, then I create a window. I make it invisible, and I draw that window under that notch, and that window is just looking for clicks. But then I hope you're not running Bartender or like other apps who are doing the same trick because they can like compete with each other for those clicks. I feel like this is just a long tangent that we're going in.
No, this is exactly it though. That's where I get into because like I want that 90% thing that you showed with Raycast. That's implying that the menu bar is there and the dock. And so you really want 90% of that active screen area. But then, so you would like take the display, you'd take the height, and subtract 20 to get the menu bar, and then I'd also subtract like 50 to account for the dock. And then so that's
But the
the
dock is
actual.
resizable,
Yeah, that's true.
so
Well, that's why you should
people
have
can
a
have huge
massive
dock.
dock that you always keep in the same spot.
We can talk about. Can we talk about docks? That's
Sure.
because that's also a hot topic.
Do you want to
So
show
speaking
yours,
of
or
plastic,
should I show mine, or we could just
I'll
talk
show
about
you
it
my
first?
dock. I'll
But
show you my dock. I'll show you my dock. There's
oh wait, let me.
there's some people who have really strong opinions about if the dock should be on the left side or
There we
on
go.
the right side. I'm gonna hide some of these windows because
Yeah, I love poking the bear and just saying, oh yeah, you should keep it in the correct place, which is the bottom. Because every Mac user
I
is
saw
like,
that.
no way.
I think the bottom is the only place. Like
Yeah.
if you put it on the right, like that's where files go. Like by default. I don't think you can change that, right? Like a Windows files on the desktop go on the left, Mac goes on the right.
If you put widgets on, it will move the files around them.
That's true.
And widgets
and I
is a
guess with
whole
the dock,
other.
it also moves the files.
Widgets is a whole other
me see.
thing that I can't use widgets because I use multiple monitors and I
All
unplug
right.
them for gaming, and it clears my widget arrangement every time. So it's brutal. Or just the dock in general with multiple monitors is the reason I don't do it, because I use universal control, and so I can't select things in the dock because it goes over my iPad, and I'm like, damn it, like.
See. So see, I don't know, like, I don't know if they would be here, the files by default, but like this is, it just feels wrong. This is not where the dock goes.
Do you do
so for me?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm jumping.
I don't. No, I don't. The one thing that I do accept, and I use it also on laptops, is just hiding. I do hide my dock on laptop.
Yeah.
Just because I need the screen real estate.
Yeah.
So I think hiding is perfectly fine. Also, there's this command line thing you can run to shorten the delay, like how long it takes when you put your mouse there.
I want that.
I always go back to Kevin Clark, my friend Kevin Clark. Oh, there you go. See, it's right here. There's this blog post from years and years ago, 2015. I always referred back to. So you know what? Just run these 3 commands. So one is like there's a delay that it listens to. Just set that to 0, and then it's like how long does it take, like the animation to show.
Nice.
So you just run these 2, and it makes having a dock that hides, like it's just super fast, and it
that's
just
awesome.
Yeah, I think it makes it.
I'm gonna make shortcuts out of that, and see, it's legit. That's terminal commands for shortcuts are great because you can essentially have one to turn it on and one to turn it off. That, I mean, I know you're probably
you can run command. You can do that. You can run.
Well, you can use AppleScript to run. So it's like embedding. Oh no, you can do shell scripts also, but you can run a shell script in this AppleScript. But yeah, there's a run shell script action. You can.
I've built this app.
You can run. Hold on, wait. Before I want to know this, but just to say it, you can run shell scripts remotely, so you can do Mac window management from your iPhone. That's the other thing that I want to get into next. Yeah, but that's like, again, we're like Mac window management for spaces, including the dock and multiple displays. This is like, it takes like a month. This is why it's a whole application and not just like shortcuts that people build. But
we're Mac people. Yeah.
So right. What you said, yeah.
Let's talk about a hide dock. Like this is an app that I built real quick just to, like I said, I like to hide my dock when I'm on a laptop, but when I'm on like a large external display, I like to have it visible just because I like seeing the icons. And as a designer who just loves icon design, even though I'm not really good at it, but I really appreciate it. I like seeing the icons.
Yeah.
And again, it's not like I'm running out of space, so I just like to do that. So I wanted to automate that. Just again, show the dock when connected to an external display and hide it when not. Maybe I could do that with shortcuts. Maybe you don't need hide dock, but I built this. It's quite buggy since Sonoma, but the app
Yeah.
is free, so get off my back.
No,
So that's fine.
I definitely have
I
it.
have to get back to it.
I was trying to figure out
And like,
how does it work with,
sorry.
I guess I have multiple displays. I wanted it to like when
Always shut it up on both.
well, I have two external monitors, and then sometimes I switch to just one. And so I was wondering if there could be like a fourth category that's
Honestly, it
I
could.
don't know. But yeah.
One thing that I cannot do that people ask for, and this is very like this UI is misleading. You cannot have both, like the dock in both displays at the same
Yeah.
time. Like
I think that
macOS
was
just does
maybe
not
the
let
other
you do
one.
that. Even though this looks like you can do it from this preview, but that's not true.
What is nostalgia?
But
Oh, nice. I didn't notice that.
yeah, it just switches to
That's awesome.
and like in global settings, there's this faster hide animation. If you turn this on and you run HiDoc, it does the same as like this thing from
Okay,
Kevin's
cool,
post.
nice. Well, then you should just get your app. You should just add shortcut support.
I should, and also should make this work better, more reliably. I don't know if you noticed. I think the first time I moved the dock position, it bugged out a bit. It's not doing it again. I think it was because HiDoc was like, no. You want to
Yeah,
know
you're like overriding it.
Was overriding it. Anyway, so that's my dock. I don't like. I want to talk about yours because it looked just completely crazy.
Real quick though, what about
Yeah.
fans and folders and it looks like you have what's the star folder? Is that I just can't see. All right, is that private?
So I call it mood board. No, so I have 3 folders. One downloads, I think that's default. Let's keep it there. One I call it mood board, and another one I call exports. So, and they look like this.
Yeah,
I'm using this app.
Is it icon to image? Is that?
Yeah. I think that's right.
Because it works. Oh, image to icon. It works with shortcuts, and John Voorhees made one that you can for all the add to dock icons. I'm trying to even remember how I use it. It makes like a proper Mac icon for out of shortcuts icons, which is awesome.
Oh, you mean the new Sonoma feature, like add to dock? Like from a website?
But it's like without having to physically do it. We essentially write and sign shortcuts and then give them an icon. It's like developing. I have a whole system that kind of fell apart at some point, but I can merge a folder of shortcuts into a single shortcut underneath a menu, and I'm like literally rewriting the code. But it basically, I'm not doing it properly, and so like it freaks out after a while, and I think I introduced some like crazy bugs into shortcuts from that. But
hey, that's the fun of programming. Love it. So exports, this is kind of silly potentially, but like I like to have the desktop accessible, see it, because I just drag icons, like not icons, I drag files, like say from Safari all the time to here, like I'm working on Sketch and I just export stuff, and I always export stuff to the desktop just because that's so easy to access, even if it's like crazy, and you can always start a drag and then do this and then move windows, and so I always like to have the desktop accessible. But that means that I end up with just a bunch of stuff in the desktop, like most people. So what I do is say I kept it in this state because I wanted to show you like a real life example. So like I said, I just launched an app. So I had the product hunt page open. So I had a bunch of exports. These are just like the product hunt previews or whatever. And then here's some screenshots and stuff. So from these product hunt screenshots I probably want to keep. So I do like go to the I have a folder like in side projects for it. I would probably create a new folder and call it like product hunt assets or whatever. And then I would drag these in there. Everything else, it's effectively trash, but I almost never trash these things. I just drag it to this exports. And that's it. The exports is a directory in like iCloud Drive. So it is like
synced,
uploaded and backed up. It's synced. I rarely need to go back But sometimes I'm like, hey, where's that freaking icon that I
Yeah.
exported? Like, I know I had it on my desktop 2 weeks ago. I don't want, even though I have Time Machine running, I'm not gonna like go through that UI. So it's probably in the exports folder. And then once a year, it's very fun. I just put all those exports, because I have like thousands of like little random files, and I put them in the like year folder, say 2023. And then I start new. And it's fun to go back to like 2015 and see all the stuff like design work that I've been doing and screenshots that I've been taking. And it's cool. It's a cool like trip down memory lane. And then in this case, like this is something I was doing for also the app, so that can go in there as well. And then I like to keep this clean. Also the clean up command, I use this all the time, because right now I have icons to snap to a grid, but sometimes I don't, and that does that.
How do you feel about the stacks? You ever use that?
Like, I like it if you are someone who has a desktop completely out of control, right? Like that helps. Yeah. I personally like it's not really compatible with this, with my system, if you will.
Oh my god!
But I like it. I think it looks cool. Oh, I just noticed that this is not the default like Finder look. Is it under View Options?
Yeah. I think these are Snap to Grid. Default. I don't think I knew.
Snap to Grid, you do.
Yeah, it's not on by default. I don't think. Or wait,
no, it's not on the default.
How do you even get that?
But I know that like having the title, having the file name on the right, and the size is not. Oh, there you go. Snap to Grid, sort by. I guess you could.
Mine doesn't have that.
Doesn't have Snap to Grid.
Wait, did you sort by? Hold on, I don't have the window big enough.
Yeah.
Sort by none. Oh, maybe that's it. I have by kind. Oh, I'm using stacks. That's probably it.
Yeah.
That'll do it. Let me show you in a second how many screenshots I have.
Oh my god. Okay.
Okay, wait. I'm switching. I have stacks, and this is why. And I don't think I knew that if I expand the screenshots.
Whoa.
I have, this is a good example. I was going to ask you when you were talking about your exports thing. Okay, how do I click? Mm-hmm. Click. It won't let me close it. Damn it, Mac. Is like Hazel and things like that for organizing screenshots, because I mean the exports thing I really like because I use downloads and that's not good. And like I even use Pixelmator to do design, like simple design stuff for blog posts, and or maybe I'm thinking of Figma, which I shouldn't. I'm sorry for saying. But it always wants to export the current thing into like a folder, and then it's like the same folder every time. And so like I really had issues with those exports and file management there. But I don't really use it anymore because I only ever did that for like exploration design work, not like active things, because I'm usually just making thumbnails is my main work. But the same thing of saving them to an exports folder over time would be nice. I'm curious too.
And like, this would be something that it would be perfect to automate, because I do this almost like every day. But like, say, I don't know, at 3 a.m. or something, where I'm definitely not on my computer. Just do that cleanup for me. Although it'd be hard to know which files I still am using.
Yeah,
it's not like a once a day thing, but
you could probably. The way my thought just went to something that like I think David Sparks does, which is using tags, where like once you put it in there, it's tagged done, or like I don't know. But yeah, that's probably not totally worth it. I had a whole thing for a while with screenshots where they were named differently on Mac and iPad, and so that drove me nuts because I didn't have like where are all my screenshots, and they saved them to the desktop. So I had a whole system where Hazel would rename them, or like I think I had the iOS ones who would get renamed like Mac, so that they all had the same searchability. But then like in 1 year, Apple, I think they changed how they were named, and I was like, oh my god. So like it screwed my whole system up. And then I have also like deleted all my screenshots from iCloud, which I then later regretted because it's just like it's easier to just have them in one place. But the
Actually,
same thing,
it
I have like
wouldn't be
thousands
a
of them. So
it wouldn't be a bad idea to somehow pull out all of the screenshots from the photo library and just put them in a desktop with
oh
the
yeah,
same naming
man,
structure.
that would be so
Because
convenient
like
if
I
somebody had shortcuts to do that.
Matthew to the rescue.
Where is it?
You have that? Yeah,
Let
of
me see.
course.
Hold on. This is half the time I'm just they really need subfolders and shortcuts because I just spend like 30 seconds trying to find where the heck I put that one, or like what did I name it?
Is search completely broken for you with that
You
amount of?
can't search the sidebar, so I can do.
Oh my god!
It'll tell me which folder it is, but I don't know where that folder exists in my collection.
I see.
This is why I have the home screens, and this is why I have. Hold on, I know it's in here. Give me a second. It's just also hard to do live.
Okay.
My brain like short circuits.
Feels the
Because I have a
pressure.
whole set of design ones, and they're usually there it is. Okay.
So pink is design.
Pink is photos.
Pink is photos.
Although I also started to adopt more of a literal. These icons are blue, and so I started doing some of those because I had like 200 pink ones in my brain. Then it's like overwhelmed in a different way. But yeah, this gets your. I only did 100 at a time just to make sure I wasn't screwing things up. But yeah, just screenshot, date taken at time, and then I added this iOS append versus Mac. And then it's all just in the shortcuts folder. Yeah, and then it also deletes them too. So like, and then
that's great. Ooh, I want that one.
Yeah, but it's like I think the part where it deletes them is maybe where I should. It is nice, but then later you're like, oh, I just wanted to find the screenshot and I couldn't, and then it's
I'll
also
probably
like Hazel has to be running. Yeah, exactly. Just keep them, but have them ported over. So yeah, this one I think it is still running, but then it's like only on my Mac Mini, not on my laptop. So I get confused when I take a screenshot. Or no, I think it's only running on my laptop, not this. So when I'm on my Mac on my laptop, the screenshot disappears, and here it's not sorted, and so it's like managing automations across platforms can be confusing as well.
So is this? Wait, I think I missed this. Is this running? Would you run this on a Mac or on the?
This one I would run manually on my iPhone, but I could do. I could program it better to like. The main thing is it can't detect. Like I guess if you just did this always, it would just be empty, so you wouldn't really worry about it. Or like, yeah, I can't really detect. If you clear them out, it's easier because then there's just none. But if I can't like get the latest and determine the last time I added them or something like that. But for the Mac automation, I do have a Hazel script that moves them off the desktop into this folder at all times.
Right. Is there a trigger when you take a screenshot? Is that a trigger?
No, as an automation, no. You can take a screenshot using shortcuts,
right,
and do this, like it'll automatically move it all and file it without.
So I wonder, like, when you take a screenshot on a Mac, it by default usually goes on your desktop. So I'm very much like wired to expect I take a screenshot, I use CleanShot, but I take a screenshot and it's going to go on my desktop. But when I take a screenshot on my phone,
it just stays there.
I'm taking a screenshot because I just want to put it in Sketch or something real quick, like a mock-up or something. And so it would be great if I took a screenshot on my phone and it would also appear on the desktop.
Yeah,
like
that's kind of
I could give it a grace period.
I think
because I have to airdrop it, but then the airdrop is like a HEI, whatever that file format is.
Yeah. I mean, this is where we're at the limits of what we can do today, but like also they could add it going forward. I mean, just as an aside, I really would love a shortcuts action to resume sync on photos and not have it be like, I'm waiting to sync. That's the one that drives me nuts is I'm like, I'm sitting right here. Send me the damn screenshot. But yeah, I mean, once it's in photos, you can get the photo out. Like this would work once it syncs over and you take it. And then you could but yeah, I mean, you could have the Hazel script. You could have a Hazel script somehow checking and running the
Like for your photos
shortcut.
library.
Yeah, you can automate shortcuts using Mac automation tools in ways that are even deeper, that I think it's I can't handle that amount of power without somebody else telling me how it is you do get beyond really quickly. But again, for somebody who it's your daily workflow, yeah, I'm going to do that because it'll save me hours and hours of time. So that's where I'm just not a designer and I don't do that as much. But I take a lot of screenshots and I make thumbnails and things like that. So that's definitely maybe we can come back on the stream and do
we can collab
design flow. Yeah. Cause part of what happens with these streams is we're talking more than actually doing the work, but we can spend time just actually building them too. Cause that's a lot of fun.
Just yesterday, after seeing it online for a bit, on Vision OS, I went to that accessibility option to do sounds to trigger.
Oh yeah.
Do a pop sound and a cluck sound and something to. I have it. I'll do and it'll open the home screen.
Oh really? That's sick. Oh, are you talking about?
Because having to just.
I was thinking sound recognition, but is it?
Well, it's under the accessibility options, I think motor skill or something. I think it's designed for people who just it would be hard for them to press the physical the crown. So you can assign it to different sounds like t, stuff like that. And so I have one again. I think I use the cluck or the pop. I think I have pop for notification center. So I'll just do and it'll open.
That's so.
And that's actually it's just better than having to go and reach for the button.
What is it? Spoken content? Is it?
So I did this in Vision OS. I assume it's also on iOS, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, they have sound recognition as a feature, but maybe it's the custom.
I was just leading into a joke, but what I was trying to say is I want a sound recognition. No, it's okay. I want a sound recognition. If I go a groan, just run a shortcut. In this case, I'd sync my photo library.
I think it could.
That would be.
I love it. That is good.
I think groan is not
all the automations. One of the reasons shortcuts is what it is because of accessibility, and that's one of the awesome things about Apple and just this feature overall is or even, I don't know, I don't want to say it as a sneaky way, but it is there are reasons people could use this and it would majorly benefit them, and then we can also all benefit from it because accessibility is for everyone also. And so but that specifically, a lot of those accessibility features are tuned to run shortcuts for that exact reason, that you otherwise couldn't do it, but then we can have fun with it as well. So is it within sound recognition or is it just because sound recognition is a feature that they added that's if the door knocks, you can just get an alert.
Let me see. And I'll send you a link. Vision OS trigger stuff. Sounds. This is how I Google, by the way. Sound actions it's called.
Okay, sound actions. That is different.
You see it? Yeah. So it's under accessibility. Yeah.
Is that a Vision OS only?
Maybe.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Give it a shot. Honestly, that's how I go to the home screen instead of reaching.
Well, the ergonomics of using Vision OS long term, I have wrist pain from just scrolling on Mastodon and for an hour, and I was that was dumb. But that's a normal thing I do, and going on TikTok, same thing. But it is even for the TikTok one being just saying next, and it moves to the next one. that's worth
Yeah.
programming in if you can.
The scrolling gesture it stands out because everything else you can just like rest your your hand on your lap or
So
something.
I found
But
though
the
that I'm
yeah.
sitting there scrolling and I'm holding my hand like this. And so like
Mhm.
I have RSI from using the iPad. I
Mhm.
used to before we got the trackpad, I was occasionally I would just not pay attention and I would build shortcuts up on the keyboard thing, and that like kind of messed up my wrists. And so
Oof.
that thing in Vision, like just doing this over and over again while you're also like your brain is holding on to something that isn't there. And so I'm like pinching, like, and not always, but like there is a certain amount of like you are doing this repetitive thing in a weird holding your hand, or like you can hold it there but then like you're doing it over and over. That like I need to have more camera angle. So
It's like pulling a piece of string, but 3 hours in, and you're kind of just
yeah,
like pulling a rope.
I did, yeah,
You know,
exactly. I've been pulling a string for 6 hours a day for 2 weeks, and
yeah,
it's like what, I don't need to do that. So like that whole,
yeah,
but then at the same time I'm sitting there on my iPad and I'm like this for hours. So like
yeah.
I still want to make a video just filming myself working with it, with a Vision Pro and without it, and like the difference that my body is in, because
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
pretty bad habits there. But I mean, I
Oof.
think that's all. Now to try to bring it back to Mac window management, I think it is all tied
Okay.
together of like how using these spaces, and even in like Vision, arranging windows is something that clearly is needed, of like bring up my main window, one off to the left, one
Yeah.
above, one to the right, sort of thing.
And Vision OS is, I know it's a 1.0 and it feels very much like a 1.0. So I'm giving it a lot of slack. I'm not, it's I understand, but oof, it needs some things to help with that. Like
Yeah.
yes, you have an infinite canvas, but like overlapping windows in Vision OS is a nightmare. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
The way it like
Because
dims the one
it would
behind
work if
it
you
no
had
matter what.
Command Tab.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if you have a bigger window in front of a smaller one, how would you get that smaller one? Like sometimes you can see a little grabber
Yeah.
peek through the main window, but like I just
Yeah,
have
or
to move
like
stuff around.
I did find myself
Yeah,
being like, where the hell is it? But like you do have that of you can walk towards it. Like there is a
yeah,
literal affordance that we don't have with these.
yeah.
I
But
what
like that's
drove me
something on
nuts.
Mac. It's just Command Tab.
Yeah,
That's Command Tab is goes a long way.
but like
Um,
Command Tab, like what do you? I don't know. That's where
uh,
some of it is like,
have you tried the? Have you looked at that like zoom gesture, like
yeah,
temporary
like the
zoom?
window zoom for blind users
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah,
Hmm.
I didn't really use it. Even just the
It was
window
interesting.
sizes on Vision are massive. Like did you resize them to the smaller size?
So
Um,
I didn't, just because I like to stick to defaults as much as I can, says the person who like changes the icon size on the Finder. But like broad strokes. So I kept it the default, and the default is large, right? I think
yeah,
there's like it's not even in the middle. It's um, someone's asking about Raycast. Yeah, we should bring this conversation back to that.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I kept
I'll
the
bring it back.
default, even though things do look massive. But then if they look smaller, maybe it's even more comfortable potentially. But then eye tracking becomes an issue because then things
Yeah,
are smaller
I'm
to
curious
kind of.
because I had some eye strain. I'm curious making them smaller and trying to interact
Mm.
and like just filling
Yeah.
my view with windows. And I watched I watched Mad Max in 3D in spatial computing, and so like I think the depth while also having a window in my space and then moving that back and forth, I think my eyes
Mm.
were just like, what is going on? Like I don't know how to focus on this. So
This there's a I saw this article um around the Mastodon, like about the long term, not risks, but like consequences, I guess, of using Vision Pro for long
yeah,
periods of. time.
I mean,
By the way, that's totally clickbaity. Like the TLDR is like, we don't know,
yeah,
but there's
no,
got
I
to be
saw that
something.
exact study. They were like, we should pay attention to
Do
this.
that.
And I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Like,
they're like, okay,
thanks.
then
And
do
it was
that.
like based off of, or I saw some that were based off of pass through Quest. And I was like, yeah, it's a different product. Like, I agree. I
Mhm.
wouldn't use that all day long. And it's totally true though that like the first, or I don't know if you still get this, but like this was also why I like stopped using it for a while, was it definitely affected my vision. And like I could tell that I was like, it would be like weird and stuff like that, but I also overdid it. And so
It wasn't pro anymore, just regular vision.
yeah, well, like
Yeah.
I went
Oh,
out
but
driving when it was raining, and like I was like, oh, like my eyes are fucked up. Like I was like, I might
damn.
crash. So like I was like, I like actually had to stop because I did overdo it. So
My
I'm
thing
super concerned, but I don't know.
after like one of the first days that I used Vision Pro for like long periods of time, I remember taking it off and looking at like just real things and feeling like they weren't 3D enough,
Yeah,
which is completely sorry,
no,
I
it's
don't know if I
fine.
should swear. Like I would look at this cup and I'm like, it's not 3D, is it? Like it's not the same 3D-ness.
Yeah,
If that makes sense. It doesn't. But I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't use that for that
exactly.
long.
It's
It's
weird.
starting to rewire my brain in a
Well, I
weird
like
way.
what happened to me is I take naps in the afternoon, and so I'll use the Vision Pro a lot, take a nap, and then wake up and like look for Control Center. Like, and I'm not wearing the headset, but like my brain is just like attuned to
Uh-huh.
it. So like it's creepy. But I
Yeah.
don't know. I think yeah, I think they obviously did something to account for it. Otherwise they wouldn't have released it. Like I think that's where it's good that we should pay attention, but they've done
Right.
something to
Well,
account
I
for
hope.
eye strain and things like that.
But also like, they never
They'll never
after the
they never
product is
will.
out, users will use it in a way that you didn't really,
Yeah,
planned.
that's kind of why it was funny that I was literally in that Verge story saying that I have some eye
Right.
strain, and I was like, yeah, but like I don't know, and yeah, if you use it 10 hours a day, like it's probably gonna hurt your eyes, or like I just have
Yeah.
other interrelated, like I already use screens all day long, so like I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm not totally sure if it's the product itself or if it was my experience with it. That's why I'm still like not using it, and I'm gonna try again and like see if it does it again, because that's kind of like
You're
my
holding your own. Yeah.
yeah, doing my own experiment. But let's get to before we forget these questions.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because
Okay,
this is
before we move on from the doc, I have one last
oh
thing
yeah,
that I
sure,
feel like I kind of, as
let
a
me get to it.
designer, I should
Sure.
uh,
Are you
say
still
this.
sharing? Let me switch.
I'm not. I don't need to. This will be real
Okay.
quick, but just if you're resizing the dock, the little grabber on the separator, if you hold Option while resizing, it'll snap to predetermined like sizes,
That's awesome.
which are just like optimized for pixel scaling. And I just, again, as a
Ah,
I need to say this. If you're resizing your dock, while you do it, please hold Option. Um, TLDR, the icons will look sharper, right?
no, that is
that's
great.
that's that's it.
So
And if you use high dock by default, those sizes are already
that's a good.
set to those.
I like that
And
bit.
if you really don't like those sizes, there's a wait, what is it? There's something you can override that. Honestly, don't know.
So let me show
Whatever.
my doc real quick, because
Yeah.
we never
Oh my
actually
god,
talked
yes.
about that, but it
Let's
doesn't work
start.
for
Do
me
we still have
properly.
2 more hours? I
No,
hope so.
I'll keep it quick.
We're gonna need them.
This is the problem: is it doesn't. I have so many. There's only 2 scales, and I don't know if this one is actually properly scaled because it's probably too big. But
Yeah, I mean, at that point, like, you don't really have an option. Like,
yeah, it's still, but like maximizing it is still like nice. It does look pretty good.
Mhm.
So I mean, this is
Let's talk about this.
this is too much for sure. This was
Okay.
a result of my Spaces experiment, and I took what's on my iPad home screen. Let me just show it. I'll just bring it up on. I'll just hold it up
Mhm.
here. It'll just be me for a minute. Like I have on my iPad home screens dedicated to like each thing.
Yeah.
So like this is home, this is travel, this is social media, this is audio and things like that going into work. So I made that exact same setup on the desktop.
See.
So like this is my home one, and then those first couple apps are the same ones that are on my dock or on my iPad home screen. So like I don't think this dock setup is going to last long term. It was kind of just an attempt to have these here, and then I can also assign them to specific displays. Do I have? I have the wrong size zoom set up, but this is how this feature works at scale for me. Is like I open reminders and it takes me to this screen. I guess it's not open right now, but like if I'm here and I click on reminders, it should do it. Some of these I've assigned to work on all desktops because nobody wants to be in desktop 12 and I just want to open notes and it throws me away. So that's kind of the balancing act, but you just assign it to all displays, all desktops, and then it'll show up no matter what. So I have that like with shortcuts is a good example because even though technically I build shortcuts in one place, I still use the app other. So like when I'm
curious,
manage through Airtable, and then this takes me to my shortcuts home screen where I then do those other things, which I somehow got signed out of. What were you gonna say?
So how often do you launch apps from the dock versus I don't know if you use Spotlight,
or something like that?
Yeah,
pretty often. I think because I do a lot of context switching, that's why I developed this. The whole part about just search for it is super valid, and I think on iPad really is also like what most, or iPhone is like, people just search for the app and open it rather than having these 10 home screens. I'm kind of coming backwards again from iPad here, where like I built those home screens in order to just show stacks of shortcuts folders. And so that was the only way for me to really use shortcuts at scale, was to have all these shortcuts available on my home screen. And then I can just see the apps that are associated with it. And then there's kind of this color vibe that's like, all right, I'm writing, it's all orange, and I can stay in that mindset, versus like remembering, oh, I use image capture to import files into Final Cut, versus using Pixo to stitch together screenshots for blogging. It's like I just use so many apps and I have so many shortcuts that remembering which ones to open like takes this like processing power that otherwise if it's just sitting there, I'm like, oh, okay. Or if I just use Launchpad, it is, which I don't, but in theory, it's just like they're all right here, and I don't have to remember that it's called Keystroke Pro when I want to show my keyboard shortcuts. It's just like grouped together already. So like this is why I had to like iPadify the Mac experience, because if you are a designer and a developer, you have 3 desktops. But if you're a video streamer, newsletter, blogger, I'm doing so much, I can't even really I just can't remember it. Like I am doing too much, and it's not feasible to remember how to do all that. I know what happened to me really was I mapped my brain into jobs to be done, not apps. I need to do this thing. I type out, get screenshots, and then it's already here in Alfred, and I can run my shortcuts. So that's where my whole brain for the last 7 years has I both really deeply invest in the apps and the workflow around them, but then I really just am like, what am I doing? And break out those steps into different actions that I can run in shortcuts. And then it's just like, okay, as a podcaster, I have these 5 folders of shortcuts for that. And if I was only a podcaster, I'd be done, and I wouldn't have to make then 10 folders of WordPress and Airtable shortcuts and things like that. So it's just like it starts to scale, and just like the even being able to produce more content means I can like take advantage of more and keep using more. So it like it gets
Yeah.
very meta. But that's my excuse for why I have all these apps in the dock.
No, this is fascinating, and again, it's so different from what I do and what I use. To your point, I use like my dock is relatively small. I mean, definitely compared to yours, but like it's not a lot of stuff in there, but those are mainly the only apps that I use.
Yeah.
Right, like I don't. Yeah, I have one-off apps that I would open, like I'll open Handbrake when I'm converting video, but then I'll close it. Right, so it doesn't stay in my dock.
Yeah. That's kind of why I just got to the point where I would just have to remember how to do things when I eventually came back to making a video or something like that. And it was just like reprocessing the same information over and over again that then I just have now like you would in a real environment. It's like I go over there to do my videos, and I have all my apps sitting there ready. Even this Spaces experiment was born out of my like concept video for Vision OS, because I don't, when I work on an iPad or a Mac, I don't open 5 apps at once and then switch between them all.
Mhm.
Like I'm doing the thing that I'm doing. But in Vision,
Right.
in order to do multiple things, I have to literally go find the apps and bring them out, or use Siri and open multiple. So that environment prompted me to make a shortcut that's just like, am I doing video production? Okay, bring up my scripts and all my video apps and just open them all at once. And then kind of
You
just like
can't
going back
do.
here, I can do it too.
Can you do different widgets for different spaces or no? I don't think you
No,
can.
that's another thing. Dude. Dave.
Because if you could,
No! Sorry.
you could just hide the dock
Yeah.
and
If I
like
get that,
replicate.
my like
Yeah.
my thought I'll post this stream is Mac needs home screens, because if they gave us home screens with these desktop spaces and widgets across each of them, what you'd see on these desktops would be 10 different folders with all my blue shortcuts for that scene, and I would
Yeah.
I would fuck shit up. I'm gonna swear on my own stream too, because it's like, so that's why I bought a Stream Deck. I
And heck,
get that without having it physically on the screen, but it is also like now I'm managing all this that I'd love to just drop a widget rather than set up the 10 buttons or something like that. But I can give people my Stream Deck profiles, so that's another thing that I need to distribute those, so you can just install them and use them right away too.
I haven't seen like Apple invest in spaces at all. I think you would first get like focus modes, I think they call it. Like potentially you could switch like which widgets, or even maybe have multiple docks, which you kind of can on iOS, right? Well, maybe not the dock,
Not the
just
dock,
home
but
screens.
home
Oh,
screens,
you're
yeah.
saying.
That's why my
and
dock
so
is
instead of
ginormous.
spaces, you would effectively, yeah,
they would be
You're
on the
just-
home screen otherwise. It's for sure.
there you go.
So this is a good example of why I want to do the stream. Is sometimes they haven't thought of this, and also they don't know that people like you and I want this. And I think sometimes this is where like nobody's filing feedback asking for this, and when you actually do say, hey, we want this, that would be so cool. Imagine how these things work together with these like in-depth features. And a lot of it is like it would never work without shortcut support or something. They can't really justify it in a way that now they can, because they can kind of just like hand it to us power users and we can go crazy, and they don't have to redesign the entire OS interaction. I mean, like widgets on the home screen would probably take another investment, but like to me that is what they should do. And I think I'm like requesting it now on this, and I'm going to file the feedback, because that's the merging of Mac, iPad, and what you want from Vision OS long term, as like these spaces that you can switch between to do your environment, to do your work. So like they have all this, and it really wouldn't be that hard from where we are now for them to do it. They just need to make the choice and invest in it a little bit more. So like this is why I love these streams, because otherwise I'm thinking this in my head and no one ever says it out loud. And like, it is true
There's
that like
dozens of us.
it's true that like I would be the guy inside Apple screaming about this and working on it for 5 years to get it to happen, but I'm just not in there. And so like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of Mac people don't believe that Apple listens to people like this, or like, but you just have to have expectations that, yeah, they might do this in 2.5 years, not 6 months from now, like, because it just takes coordination and
from experience,
features.
is like, yeah, they'll do it, but they'll do it like in a slightly different way, not
Yeah,
so it
that's
doesn't
true.
cover 100% of like, well,
So that's
I
where
think
shortcuts.
so.
Thank God they kind of give you
Yeah, exactly.
those controls that the default feature doesn't.
I'm curious, do you use Stage Manager at all, either on the iPad or Mac? Or?
This is a good example of they broke my brain with the first version that didn't work, and then trying to use it. Basically, I need these find windows actions on iPad also. I will use it to my heart's content the second I can have app pairs that persist, or I can pair them together and make multiple windows. But it's essentially not good enough for. I would do all this exact same thing on iPad, bring up all the windows, but it's just kludgy, and they didn't add that kind of functionality. So like, if we hadn't gotten Vision this year, that's what I would have been asking for on iPad as well. That's the merging of those functions, because it's just the same thing. I can have that experience now on my Mac where I get all my windows set up perfectly, and then I go to iPad and I can't really, or I go to Vision and I can't really do the same thing. So like, once you can get that automated setup across all those platforms, that's where it truly is like, that's why I'm so excited about Vision, because I can already use all 3,000 of my shortcuts in Vision Computing, and it's just already there, and I don't have to set it up because I already did the work somewhere else. And it's just like, that feature is super powerful. How did Stage Manager get me here? But like, taking advantage of those features and pushing them, it really does have to be cross-platform in order to get up to that level. And I just got the same thing with iPad is, I got so deep into the iPad, and then they brought shortcuts to Mac, and now I'm still even like, this is a good example. I'm doing the stream because I haven't fully understood the way I had 7 years with shortcuts for iPad, how to do it all. And then it's like, I can't do it cross-platform, so it's kind of, I lose some of the benefit. But they're like inching towards it for sure. And I really think Vision Pro should motivate them to make the find windows actions cross-platform and let us arrange things wherever we can, and give us freaking split screen on iPhone while you're at it. Just add other sexy features that you can manage through shortcuts. Like, yeah,
you're pushing it, man. Come on,
but
you're
no,
reasonable.
they're ready. I think with Apple, they're never going to do it until the moment they do, and then they hopefully already have shortcut support. Maybe we'll get it the year after, but that's kind of how it goes.
There's something like a window on a Mac is way more not discardable, but like it doesn't weigh as much as like a window in iPad. You can just have so many. You can have little windows for anything. Windows can just stay in a little corner.
I think the same with Vision.
Like an iPad is, yeah.
Like, I could have it back there, and I don't need it until I want it.
That's true. But here, I'll share my screen again just to kind of prove my point, and also I can go over that AppleScript thing I was talking about. But like, say, like I'm on Xcode, and like I need to just jot down. Here, I just exported a bunch of promo codes for the thing, which I guess now is on a stream. So
yeah, if you're live, you can get free.
Like I just copy this from App Store Connect, and I just needed to put it somewhere so I don't lose it.
Yeah.
So I need a quick text, text editor
quick note
thing.
In the bottom right. Do you
ever? I do a quick note because notes.
Yeah, I mean,
is great.
That's why.
Like,
that's their solution at least. But
yeah, for me, it's like BB for BB Edit, and I just run that, and that shortcut is again, it's running an AppleScript.
I love seeing shortcuts run live.
There you go. It's that fake shortcut, but not fake, but just running an AppleScript, which opens a new BB Edit. And by the way, that's the reason why I still use BB Edit and not Nova for these things, because Nova doesn't have AppleScript support. So I don't think I can do this with Nova.
Can you just save a
So
text
here
file
and then
into the directory? Does it?
I can, but I can't like open a new window with like a brand new file.
I would
And
use
'cause
shortcuts
right now
to
Nova has
save the text file
this.
to the directory and then open it. So it could
Guess
just
so. But I wonder, like, so here I'm using Nova. This is for like the landing page of the whatever, and I like it like this. There's a bunch of tabs and stuff. I have this sidebar with the browser and all that. So, but when I'm creating like this quick note, I don't want any of that stuff. I just want the window
I
as
see.
minimal as it can be. And in BB Edit, you can customize like new windows open with these settings and stuff like that. So that's why I'm still using the BB Edit, even though I do like it. The one thing that drives me crazy about BB Edit is these freaking icons in the menu bar.
Yeah, that's
weird.
it. That's not
why
Mac.
It makes the spacing. Yeah, for such a like BB Edit is held as a darling of macOS, macast.
That is a particularly. I've never seen another Mac
But
app use icons in the menu bar.
This,
Yeah.
this just anyway. So this is an example. I mentioned the new Safari window. Like, again, if I have some Safari windows. I'll create a new space. Whatever. Wait, do you see that? It's a bug. Okay. New space and say I don't know. In this space, I just I hope I'm not. I'm always scared of opening things on whatever. Say that I'm here and I want to open a new Safari window, right? So if I just do Safari, it's gonna
it switches.
Open the last active Safari thing, and then so I can't. If
Is
in order
Safari
to do
set to
Command
all
N,
desktops?
new window. Yeah.
Or is it none? See, that might be it. Well, if it's set to all desktops, it'll follow you space to space.
So, it's always in every space?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want that.
Yeah, see, it's again, you just want one window, not all of them.
Yeah, I want like this here, and I want, where was it? This there and this here. So again, I just, this happened all the time. So I needed like first select Safari and then do Command N and then drag this one out and then move it here. And this is bananas. So that's I just do new Safari. It's already here because I use that a lot. It's a shortcut which runs AppleScript, I guess. I can open new note, Nova, new. So then I have to create one for every app. Where are you, Safari? Safari window.
You don't have meticulously organized and color coded.
I have like the 4 shortcuts. No. So I just do this, which is like, all right, no input, whatever. Just run this AppleScript, which is like tell Safari to make a new document.
Yeah.
And just with that. Anyway, so I have one for Safari.
Does that work
for
in a new space?
Finder. What's that?
That does work in a new space without bringing Safari over? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you wanted to figure this out. You already figured it out.
Oh. Yeah, I already figured it out. But it's an AppleScript, and it's kind of, I have to do one for each. So like I have one for new Finder window. That's another thing that's so weird that like Finder will, like if you select Finder, it will move you to the last active Finder window.
I think this is where with spaces they like don't go further because the logic of it gets confusing for people. Like, and you can apply a logic, but you have to explain it to them. But that's awesome. I mean, what if you wanted both? Do you know about the run shortcut action where you can call other shortcuts as subroutines? Yeah, I would just have one that's like new space. And it opens a new tab. It runs both
I could just give an option of apps, like select whatever app, and then I
Yeah.
would just feed that into the AppleScript, and so
But you could, I don't know, I don't have too much experience with, there's a certain way that you can pass input into the AppleScript, and something you could do with shortcuts is like list, repeat with each, and then each, here, let me just show you.
Oh, sorry.
Um,
Give you a heads up.
hold on, let me resize that. Like you could basically have the list of all the apps that you want to open with new windows, and then just repeatedly run the AppleScript using those. Come on, shortcuts, you can do it. I have so many actions, it constantly tries to load all of my actions, which is dumb.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that shortcuts runs at all for you.
It barely does half the time. Yeah, I would do something like this, and then you like take. This is a good example of like, I just don't know how to program outside of shortcuts. So like, it's saying run input, and then I know that like I can like get the input somehow here, but I don't know.
I don't know how to write AppleScripts either.
Yeah,
I just Google everything.
Exactly, me too.
I tried ChatGPT for that one time.
Yeah, AppleScript is maybe
didn't work.
Yeah, it'll probably make up stuff. I think for regular expressions though, oh my god, I love it so much. That helps me so much in shortcuts. Oh yeah, here's my slow genie. It's like just telling it to, this is even not necessary. I'm telling a script to run a shell script when I can just do it directly. That's even funnier.
And now I'm thinking I could rewrite HiDoc as instead of just running the scripts myself, which it's very, very scary. macOS hates it, and like you have to give all the permissions for everything and all that, and it can't be on a Mac App Store.
Yeah, I mean, sandbox. It's very.
I wonder if I could just call shortcut instead.
Just to call shortcuts. That's okay. I thought you were just gonna say, read like your app is basically a bunch of shortcuts like that you could run also. Like there's a certain amount of indie developer tools where I'm like, I can just make that app as a shortcut, but I'm just kind of taking your business model away if you have one.
It's free, so there's no business model. No,
that
it's.
helps.
I just want this to work.
Yeah, I mean,
and I wanted to be on silent Mac, and just.
You can just run the URL scheme for shortcuts to trigger a shortcut. There's a command line utility that you can use to kick off shortcuts as an app. So it's totally possible.
One thing that maybe we still couldn't really do to fully replace it is, so the whole thing of like apply different settings based on whatever external display you have connected or not. I just have a thing that it's like constantly listening for a screen change, if you will.
Yeah.
And initially, the first version was like, hey, if you get that notification, like, hey, something changed about the screen, just run the appropriate scripts. But then I discovered that, well, first of all, that notification happens like all the time, like hundreds of times, like a second sometimes, for no apparent reason. But also, like, if you go, say, you play a video full screen, then all of a sudden the screen changed, right? Even though it didn't. Or if you do something with the dock, also the screen changes. So I have a lot of checks of like, okay, if the screen changed and it didn't change into like more than once in the past second, and the screen size is different than it was a second ago, like if there was a difference in size, a lot of checks to like, okay, now you can run it. And Sonoma kind of broke some of that, so it's a bit more buggy. So I think that's a trigger that I don't think we could still do it with shortcuts.
Probably not. It doesn't have that like. I think the way you're describing it, it sounds like shortcuts takes advantage of that, but not as like a process that you would need to trigger multiple times. But I was curious about that with
an action of like an external display was connected or something.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Oh, on iPad, there are automations for that. So that's another good example of like, they really need to add automations to the Mac. And it seems like they're going to do that this year because they added it, they improved it all on the other platforms and added like that. Is a display connected? It's like, sure, on iPad, it's like kind of handy, but on Mac, that people do that all day, every day on all their computers and switch between environments. So like that stuff seems, I think it's been 5 years since they said it's the feature of automation on the Mac. And if we get to September or June and they don't say something about shortcuts on the Mac, I'm going to be like, hello, like, what are you guys talking about? Like you said this, so like follow up, please, because it is very confusing as even like, I'm sure as a developer, like, should I invest in this ecosystem? Where are you guys going with it? And like you said, the AppleScript thing has been a holdover, but we need just all that functionality into shortcuts actions that I don't have to know AppleScript to figure out.
I felt like a lot of pro iPad users have felt burned by Apple at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
depends on, I don't know, depends on a lot of things, but I've seen a lot of people kind of not give up on that promise or that lifestyle, but like maybe I'll go like you said, to a point, like you're more invested now maybe on the Mac since shortcuts,
well, that's
moved over.
my whole thing is
seen,
like Jason and Federico and Chris Lawley, who does YouTube, all of us use shortcuts. We've always used shortcuts. So like the iPad Pro story in my mind was workflow, and I don't think that's told enough that like, if you don't use shortcuts, you won't get the value out of iPad Pro for sure. Like you can't do stuff at scale on there. And so I think that's something that's never said discreetly enough. And so it's been really confusing for us iPad guys, but we're shortcuts guys. And so now we all got shortcuts for Mac. And so we're like, I'm just going to use shortcuts wherever it's available. I don't care which device it is. And so like, I do think that's something that Chris and Federico more are like, I'm an iPad guy. And so now it's like confusing when these other platforms are also doing it and it's some ways better, or there's just functionality that like, I can't sign shortcuts on iPad. So like I have to use the Mac. And also even when I used the iPad full time, or it wasn't full time, I used the Mac also then. And I just used the Phil Schiller, use the best device that's for the tool at hand or the job at hand. And when workflow was only available on iPad was the best tool for automating when you're not a developer. And now that it's on all platforms, shortcuts is still the best way to get things done across Apple platforms. And if you use it on Mac or iPhone or iPad, it all transfers all back and forth. So I can move from my iPad to my Mac to Vision Pro and use shortcuts and get all my work done using that automation. And so that's where like I'm just like particularly benefiting from all of this because I'm like the only person who really invested in that world. But it's also like not obvious.
Don't even appreciate that, to be honest.
Because it's not clear unless you're here and feeling it. And I don't even know if Apple thinks this because like they're not using iPad Pro or they weren't. And like, this is why like I literally should have worked there more. And like they are a company built off of the people who work there, not just like, how else would they understand this? No one else worked at Workflow for 10 years like I did. And like, or not 10 years, but just like I've been doing this for like 10 years now. And so like I can see that so clearly, and everyone else is like, you can't get work done on the Vision Pro. And I'm like, I will show you, like, here is how, because
my virtual beer.
Well, it's like I can make API requests on the Vision Pro and stuff like that other people don't know how to do. And I can do it out of the box because I use the cross-platform automation tool.
That's a good segue. I've been meaning to ask, like, what's your reaction, like the state of shortcuts for Vision OS on
is a different... Oh, okay. I thought you were just going to say state of shortcuts. And then for Vision OS, in general, shortcuts has... I'm really glad I worked there because I have more patience for, or just understanding of like, this tool is like implementing AppleScript across every iOS app and all Apple platforms. So it's really complicated. And so I think in general,
Mhm.
Shortcuts has always has these bugs in the editor, or like they moved to Swift UI where it wasn't ready. And so all of us really struggled with like, this app can't even function properly. It's like, but I think they kind of nipped that all in the bud somewhat right before Vision OS. I think the main thing is it was like feature locked or whatever. So Vision OS 1.0 doesn't even have clipboard support from Shortcuts, which is like a major way that people use it. But it's in Vision
Yeah.
1.1 already. So like they didn't add copy and paste to Vision OS until the last minute, so they didn't have it in Shortcuts. So like 1.0 versus 1.1 is like, in 1.0 you can't open multiple apps without it closing your other apps, so totally dumb. um it just kind of didn't work very well either. And so like the 1.1 version though, you can open multiple apps, you can use your clipboard, so that's just kind of like where it should have started.
Okay.
But i want I want a Vision app for it. I don't want an iPad app. I want Minority Report style shortcuts. Like, dude, I'm gonna go nuts. That's where I also like, I literally almost like went back and worked there last summer because I was like, I want to make this. I want that to exist. And I
Nice.
know what I want and I know what I don't. But it's like if I could sit here and like build the shortcuts and like test it, and like the data dumps onto the floor or stuff, like the ability to understand shortcuts in space, I think would be huge. Like, how do I
You would
understand
have
how data's
to
flowing through it and things like that? Like, it's
you
cool.
would have to like physically tie in like the shoestring
Yeah,
between all
they
the
have the
different
between the
triggers. Right,
actions. It's
right.
like they're like hanging, and you
I'm
can
out of
like
string.
flick them, and they all like, it's like a what's the kid thing that you put above their bed, like a diorama or a,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
remember.
yeah. No, different
Well,
word. Yeah, but I
that's
know what you
why
mean.
like even like Ryan from Black Box, I was like, what did you do with that? Like I saw him at WWC, and I was like, that's what I want in shortcuts, and like being able to
Mm,
understand, or like have my folder of shortcuts that I can pull out and run, and like, I don't know. There's so much like cool stuff with it that it's like I need my digital filing cabinet, and then all my 3,000 shortcuts I can actually use in like a realistic way. Or my other one was, I've seen someone, it's like if you look at a lamp, you can control the HomeKit controls. And I want just object
right.
recognition. Like I look at my plant up here, and then I can see my shortcuts for like watering the plant or whatever, and like tracking that. So,
Yeah. Maybe Apple could do it with shortcuts, but like that's the tricky part of that about that is the privacy aspect of it.
well,
Um,
that's
like if an app,
why only Apple can kind of do this in the way that I think they will add this kind of stuff that isn't. It's like Shortcuts already is a private ecosystem that the
Mhm.
developer can't control, but I can. And so like it does enable me to do it with and expose those functionalities across apps without you being able to just suck in all my data. Or like, I mean, App Intense is totally, if they are doing an LLM thing, all of your
Mm,
apps and all the functions and the intent of what you're trying to get at is defined in your app now through shortcuts. So like,
front
to me,
end,
it's
yeah.
so obvious that this ecosystem is the future of how you get stuff done, because it's widgets. It's just, I want to do a thing to, hey Siri, which app should, oh god, but lady, I can't say it. My brain is short circuiting. It's just like, lady, what should I do? And she can just go find a shortcut path through the content graph engine to get to that result. And like nobody
Yeah.
knows that API, even the content graph, exists. So like I'm over here like it's obvious, and like, but to say this takes an hour and a half of streaming, not, I can't do it in a 5-minute YouTube video without it being,
Mhm.
those are hard to make and be convincing without
Yeah.
like someone like you who kind of already gets it also. So this totally devolved into Vision OS shortcuts,
Yeah, I know. I mean,
but
it's
that's
hard
the
not
best
to
part.
nowadays because it's in our minds a lot. Uh, my my thing of Apple Vision. in general is that this 1.0 is just like, this is not even what it's not supposed to be, what we can be. I think you mentioned Ryan, Black Box, shout
Yeah.
out. I was talking to him the other day, and like, maybe I shouldn't say this. Let's just say that, like, I know it's a 1.0, but like, even I am a bit disappointed about how Apple did some of their own apps. Like, it feels like, wait, we
Yeah.
have this new paradigm, AR, like, and it's still just floaty windows, which is a easy way to start. But like, the potential is what makes me excited.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think,
like, I was playing. I started playing yesterday. The game Alan Wake 2. I don't know if you
mhm,
played it.
I
Pretty
haven't,
cool.
but yeah, I know about it.
Um, but like, so you play as a detective. At least in the beginning, I only started yesterday. But then, like, you're trying to solve this murder case or whatever, and then you press a button and you go in your mind palace. I don't know if you watch Sherlock, but it's like,
Yeah,
I
no,
hope
but
people are familiar with the term. Okay, you go into your mind palace, and when I saw that, I'm like, I want a mind palace Vision OS app
yeah,
where I can just say, Siri Dingus, go to my mind palace, and it's like a virtual room where you can put like notes in the wall. You
yeah,
can put like little things to remember later, like as physical objects or something over there, to like, and have that persistent across app launches, right? Like
yeah. The persistence is the
that.
major. I think they got to
Yeah.
add that. That's why my
Yeah.
concept video was like taking if shortcuts had the window actions plus persistence, it would be that exact thing
Hmm.
of like I just want to look at my calendar and open the calendar app there. I don't want to have to open it and put it there every time. But I think that's where you now have the product and can see that vision and people can build towards it versus if you don't have it, you can't. Like the thing that I've gotten with from working at Apple briefly and seeing how shortcuts works in particular is like because this has to do with shortcuts actions is they can't build new actions for shortcuts until they built the API to build the actions.
Hmm.
And then usually the second they come out with that API to build the actions, I'm like, why didn't you already do this? But it's because the numbers team didn't have it. So like I think the major thing with Apple is they didn't have the headset. Like most Apple employees didn't know, quote unquote, or whatever. I'm sure they knew at that point, but like they didn't get it until we all did. And so they've only had it for 3 weeks also. And like that's where like their Apple always shoots themselves in the foot of like the real version is the one that's coming 6 months from now. But also we're selling it. They're selling it now, and people are reviewing it
This
now. And so like, I totally get.
internal secrecy, yeah, it's we can see the downsides of that.
Yeah,
Like, even, they just launched the sports app.
yeah.
Um, it's
But
like
the TV
iPhone
team or
only.
whatever.
A lot of the like UI for like accessibility, like text size and all that, like
That's the one that they should have done.
on iPhone SE, it's completely broken. Like, no widget support, no, dynamic island support, no nothing. And I'm like, yeah, like,
That's the most
and
MVP app they've ever released for sure.
the but I think the expectations, the user expectations for a brand new app nowadays for Apple platform are so high. And I say this as a indie dev. Like,
yeah,
if I want to release an app, the MVP, the way I see it, is actually, it's not very minimal. There's a lot of work. Not
you're a
even
pro
considering like,
though, so even I don't think. I'm not going to say this in a critical way, but I don't think what you release is an MVP. You release a polished product, and
yeah, well, I
maybe
mean, but
in
like,
some ways,
in every,
depending on how you look at an
you know,
MVP, also.
yeah,
I think
right.
I think Apple. I'm just my thing with the sports app was if you look at the journal app and the weather app and the classical music app, it doesn't surprise me that it's iPhone only, because that seems to be
Mm.
how they do it. And it's also just like I think sometimes why Apple does something is a lot simpler than it's just like it reaches 100 million times more people. Like the iPhone one is going to be the one that matters. The iPad one is nice, but it's not the MVP. And so they do it. They'll probably release it next year or like soon. But for them to get the bang for
It's
their
just
buck, this one
it
is
just
fine.
stings a bit
Like,
when, like we're almost, dub season, and like they're gonna come on stage, or I guess not on stage anymore, but they're gonna come up on the video and say, Swift UI is great. You only write once, it runs everywhere. To have your app on Vision Pro is just one checkbox, and I'm like, okay,
why didn't you do that with sports? Yeah.
why didn't you do that, right? Like,
Yeah. I
why did
mean,
it take you like 5 years to have a weather app on iPad or whatever, or the Mac?
the weather one was
So
why I thought of it the most. Of like, it is hard to make an interface for an iPad in a way that's easier on an iPhone. And so like, and then they also now get feedback on what they should add. And so like, I both know what you're saying, but I also like, I see why they do it. And so I just try to like, I don't know. I never want to defend Apple, but it really helped me to understand how they're doing it, because they're just like, something that I really realized about shortcuts was like, they don't make money from it. And I think that's something that people don't think about enough with Apple, is like, they are a money making machine. Even though they're also here to be the intersection of liberal arts and creativity and solve people's problems, they won't do it if it's not
very busy.
profitable. And so like, that's
Yeah,
one of
no,
the
for
reasons
sure. I mean,
shortcuts
I
is
would
bad,
say,
is like, it's not profitable enough for them to invest in it and make it. But I think they also don't recognize, if it was really good, you guys would be miles ahead of your competitors, which they already probably are, but they've got the head start. And like, I don't know, that's where okay, with the Oculus Quest versus Vision Pro, is I'm like, show me the shortcuts app and I'll use the Quest the day one. But you don't have it? Okay, like, you can't do anything that I can do on that platform. And like, that's just something that I can't even
and
talk about on
that's
social
how
media,
they make
because
money.
yeah.
That's how they make money for shortcuts.
Well,
It
yeah,
sells
but
more
it's
devices.
still, that's different than I sell it for $4,000. So like, they will make
Okay.
money abstractly, versus like an app store for shortcuts would make them money probably. So like, those kind of things I think can change. Just like, they have to invest in it, and then they have to kind of see the return, versus like, we sold a $4,000 headset is like, yeah, we made some money there. Let's keep doing that. And then like, so that's where sometimes like, I think as Apple observers, we get like too complicated in like why they're doing something or why they're not. And it's just like, they're just like, it costs money to make an iPad app and we finish this one first. Like, but the expectation that they set, and for developers in particular, I agree, is not the good story, or just like what we want. And yeah, I don't know.
So Mac window management.
It's all, we got back there a couple times. It's all related.
Okay.
I think this is
Go
why
there.
this in particular, I was like, this is a fascinating subject at this moment, because it's better than it's ever been on Mac. And on
Yeah.
iPad, we've got Stage Manager, so there's all these solutions. But like you said, there's no right answer, and there's a lot of
Have you ever
potential.
had more than one guest on the stream?
Yeah, I've done up to 4 developers before.
I'd be down for a round 2 where I can still play the hippie role. I'll defend that position, and then have like some tiling users or whatever. Because I feel like it just needs more discussions.
Yeah, variety. I
We're just
mean, definitely like getting into it. I'd also like to do a test, or like building them and getting real examples, but sometimes that is just like takes longer. Yeah, let's
yeah.
definitely do this again. And also,
All right.
I want to just mention, because we didn't fully answer some of these questions, just that like the keyboard shortcut, this one was about like hiding your windows all the time. I definitely do that. That was how my Vision Pro
Okay.
concept video worked. Was It's actually really great on Vision Pro. Hiding all the other windows is a really nice feature, and you can do that in shortcuts as well. There's a hide apps action, and then there's a parameter to hide all apps except for this one.
Right.
And then
Do you
what?
know how to bring them back though? That's something I haven't figured out. You just have to go to home screen and click the app.
No, you just have to open them again. But that's why my shortcuts open multiple in a row for you. So yeah, it's
Because
definitely
that's
not.
same on Mac, like like that keyboard shortcut they shared. You can
Ooh,
hide all other windows,
but
which
then
I
you
use a
can't.
lot, especially when I want to like take a screenshot or like screen grab something.
I'm making
But
a shortcut
then okay, but
to
then I don't
bring
know
back
how to
all
bring
other
them all
windows.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's you
like
got to find all the ones
reset.
that are open and reopen them again. I totally can do
Exactly.
that. I'm almost positive. So I'll build that for our next one.
Right. So this whole thing was already worth it, if not just for that. I have this. Let me see. I have this one the one menu bar app called One Button or whatever it's called. I'll look it up.
Hmm.
It has a bunch of like little toggles, and I thought one of them was like hide all windows, but
Ooh,
maybe
I
not.
want.
Look
That
into
sounds like
it.
an app that's full of terminal commands that I would make into shortcuts for sure.
100%. Here, this is. I should look it up. I have the app, but it's called One Switch.
Oh, nice.
It's on Setup. So it's a thing on the menu bar. I click, and then there's a bunch of switches like mute microphone, hide desktop windows or desktop icons, dark mode, keep awake, turn on screensaver, true tone, night shift. Just
Nice.
quick like toggles
good,
for
though.
a bunch of things. Some of them have like you can go in a control center and like dig through menus and find it. Some others like show hidden files.
Yeah, that's
Like
a good one.
3 times a year, I need to Google that
how to
terminal
press.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, how to show the hidden files, but like this is handy. It has all the toggles.
Nice.
Um,
I'll put that in the
Anyway.
show notes. Just to wrap it up, is how should
Yeah.
people, if they're watching, hopefully still, where should people find you and follow your stuff?
My website is probably the easiest. Rafa.design. It's not totally up to date. I'd need to update that website, but it has links to like some of my apps, and I'm on Mastodon mostly. Like it's my one true social media thing right now. Even though I have accounts in every other one, but
Yeah.
that's where I do most of my toots. And yeah, Sketch is a cool app. Sketch.com.
Yeah, I want to talk
Yeah.
about Sketch at some point also because I got away from it, but I'm interested and also website design stuff in general. I have the worst website in the world. It's all just kludgy plugins. So you were mentioning that, and I was like, oh yeah, shit. So some other time we should talk about that as well.
Please. This is a lot of fun. Happy to come back.
Seriously, thank you for coming on, and thank you for the time. Also, I really appreciate it.
Of course. It's a blast.
And also, thanks everyone who commented in there. And Blake, $2. We're gonna go spend it all in one place.
Let's go crazy.
Still, though, that's awesome. I love it. That's totally. It's like a new dopamine cycle for streaming that I love. Yeah, seriously, thank you. I really appreciate tuning in and staying. It's awesome to have the audience here too. Nice. Well, thank you for coming on the stream. This has been a lot of fun, and let's do it again soon.
Let's do it.
All right. See y'all. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.